And a doctor of virology has made a statement regarding the PACE illness and posted it publicly via a video online. The video has gained a lot of traction, what some would call viral, although that may not be an appropriate description at this time. He was confirmed as indeed a highly regarded professional in the field, which is probably why this has received so much traction. In the video, the doctor discusses, sometimes in very technical terms, the potential pandemic. What he seems to be doing is clarifying information. So first, we need to discuss the reason for his video, and that's from an information packet which was leaked by Civil Defense regarding the illness that clarified that much of the information being distributed regarding PACE was inaccurate, such as it being a drug-induced zombie illness, a wording that has potentially resulted in multiple deaths, which we're seeing consistently on social media as well as conspiracy channels. They adamantly denied that individuals who had succumbed to the illness were deceased. The infection of the disease is completely based on contact with those who have the illness, and it's done through the means of attacks such as scratches and most notably bite wounds that allow the illness to enter the bloodstream. What was pointed out by many is that they did not describe how to defend against an infectious person beyond simple avoidance, which has been the norm from every major outlet since the beginning of the outbreak. Nor did they discuss a cure or vaccine would be available in the future. The doctor in the video went in a completely different direction. He says that he speaks specifically towards the safety of the citizens and in major centers that have fallen victim to the illness. He states that the illness animates dead tissue after killing its host. In multiple tirades, he seemed to reference it almost like a parasite, but didn't directly land on that word, which we found odd and nondescript. But he said it seemed to be something that simply drove its host. He stated that there is no cure or even a vaccine capable of bringing someone back once the infection has taken complete hold. He went on to state that the illness is specifically distributed via the bloodstream through wounds or injury, referencing bite or puncture wounds, which we had heard before, but then stated that not all of those who are not bitten are completely safe, that there are individuals that have died without signs and symptoms that are becoming post-infectious, and there's no real precedence for it and no clear reason. That thought process is horrifying in the extreme because it means we've been defending sick people, and in fact, anyone is potentially sick. Frankly, that statement is difficult, if not impossible, to believe. He went on to state that the only option is to dispatch or kill anyone infected because that potential infection could mean it is being spread in some unknown way from those who are suffering from the illness, even if they are unaware, that there may be an airborne or other component turning anyone into basically a ticking time bomb. He instructed that any damage to the brain would result in a complete shutdown of the system, severing the spine, burning, or any primary or overwhelming damage would also be an option. I think it's important to point out that any of these types of injuries would kill a normal person. He also recommended burning bodies. He did not specifically reference the disease as bacterial, viral, or otherwise, and it seems we won't be getting that answer anytime soon, and it appears that the biggest problem is isolating the true source of the illness, which many were hoping for in this rant. His description was more that individuals simply experience an overload of symptoms that result in their demise. It brings interesting clarity to the situation that we face. All in all, the video reads like the raving of a conspiracy theorist, someone who may not have had complete grasp on reality. Many of the statements he made should be considered dangerous, potentially harmful, and some are suggesting that he be found and arrested as a potential danger to the public or community. Civil Defense has dismissed the video as misinformation, and the president has asked that hosting sources remove it to prevent hysteria among the population in some areas affected. The video was taken down from larger websites, but still resides on other less known websites and was downloaded over 1 million times before it was taken down. It is clear that this video could, if it hasn't already, cause individuals to take actions into their own hands, justifying the use of force by individuals untrained to know how and when to use that force. It's clear we already have that problem in some areas. It may already be too late to capture this information, if some has said the genie is out of the bottle, and it has changed the dynamic of how we discuss the PACE virus and its effects. They even went on to say that burning bodies could be a trigger for distributing an illness at an airborne level if this were true, meaning that it was counter to what he was presenting. We have already heard of reports of burning bodies in the Pittsburgh area. Upon further research, it has come to light, unsurprisingly, that the doctor was dismissed from his lab position for questions of sexually harassing staff in his agency and is no longer employed as a researcher. Technicians who had worked for him said that his research was consistently critical and oftentimes took liberties and far reaches on data results and could be suggested as paranoid or problematically ideological. All this brings serious doubt on the findings of the doctor, but will require a great deal of damage control to undo. We are now seeing families and individuals leave areas that are most affected. One family we asked about why they had left their home in Pennsylvania stated the resources were drying up and they didn't believe help was coming, forcing them to pack up their vehicle and head to southern states that are already beginning to report further cases. Many people we asked in the area felt that they were going to be left out to dry as the situation became worse, while public officials said it was getting better and, against public belief, things were well under control, and that quarantines in some cities appear to be already headed towards being lifted. It's unknown if these are simply personal experiences or the opinions of the whole within affected areas. Viral experts now claim that 10 to 20% of the population are currently feeling some sort of effect from the illness, either directly or indirectly, and they believe, contrary to popular belief, that number will steadily increase as we move into the situation that some religious figures are now using apocryphal dialogue to explain. The main question that stands for anyone attempting to leave an area still remains: where do you plan to go? Reports are currently in the middle and northern U.S. as well as many southern states and specifically the eastern part of the U.S. To the true action here will be avoidance, but simply waiting it out. Government officials are now in talks with truckers who still refuse to deliver to areas that have reported to have experienced illness, and some have expressed they were not unwilling, but have been turned away at checkpoints by state troopers after making an agreement with them. The Surgeon General, in response, has instructed that they will be providing guidance for everyone about how to enter and exit areas affected by PACE. Such infrastructures are starting with masking to prevent airborne contact and padded or bulky clothing which will easily prevent bites or scratches, and recommended at least 10 feet of space between any individual to prevent unwanted contact, and recommended all outdoor activities to be suspended until further notice. In response, the sports chain Third Base discounted all of their sports clothing and pads by 15% at all their locations and plan to offer free sizing to any individuals that live in or plan to deliver to those areas.